Hi, my name is Lawrence. I'm a social worker here at Colorectal Cancer Canada. And today, in this fourth module of Connecting Through Cancer, the Family Toolbox, we will be discussing addressing grief and loss with your child. So, first, a brief overview of the topics that we will be covering in this fourth module. We will be talking about understanding grief and loss. We will be talking about what are the best practices around telling your children that someone they loved has passed. We will address questions that may come up from them. We'll discuss about grieving and what it looks like in kids. We will also identify some post-traumatic responses that you may or may not observe in your children. And we will end this module with some resources and references. So what is loss? Loss is when someone or something we loved is now gone, and it refers to the difficult and complex experience of missing them or missing it. When we experience loss, we feel like we also lost a part of ourselves. And this can refer to the passing of a loved one, of course, but it can also include the loss of a friendship, a social group, or the loss of your sense of identity of who you are. Grief is what comes after loss. So, grieving is all of the emotions, thoughts, and feelings that we experience after a loss. And please, everyone, remember that there are no right ways for someone to grieve. It's going to look differently from individual to individual. How to tell children about the death of a loved one. So, informing your kids about the passing of someone meaningful in their lives is no small thing. And so, we believe that you deserve some support in navigating this complex conversation. We encourage you to inform your children of their loved ones passing as soon as possible and not to wait for too long. We suggest that you could find a quiet space free of distractions and that you voice that you need to tell them something important. We suggest that you be prepared for questions about death. This is a topic that will naturally come up in the conversation, and they are likely to show some curiosity in that regard. And it's okay to be open and honest with them. We also encourage you to use clear words, such as dead and died, and avoid saying words like gone or passed on, just to make sure that the information you're providing is clear and accessible for them to understand. You can use words that are easy to understand and that are adapted to their age and development stage as well. You can use your best judgment in that regard. You're the one who know your children the best. And after sharing the news, allow for a pause and let them process. This is something that is difficult to digest, and so they may need to sit with it for a little moment. And of course, we encourage you to provide reassurance, affection, and guidance as a parent or as a meaningful adult in their lives. So, what about not to say to them? So, here are a few things that we strongly encourage you to avoid when you disclose the passing of a loved one to your kid. Um, we encourage you to avoid expressions like it was their time, you're in a better place now, you're now the man or the woman of the house, be strong and brave. Um, we hope that we are able to not force a child to attend the service or the funeral and respect their case, depending on how they feel about attending or not attending. And if they choose to not attend or to not take part in certain rituals, it would be ideal to not make them feel guilty and to not put any sort of blame, even though it can be challenging for you as a family member or a parent. Um, we also encourage you to not put a time limit on your children's grieving process. Reassure them that it's okay. It's going to take as long as it's going to take. It's not a linear process. That goes for adults and for children as well. And so, with this, we also encourage you to not hide your grief from your kids because it's healthy for them to see that it's okay to be sad, right? It's normal. We lost someone that was really meaningful and important. So, a reaction is bound to come up from this. We also encourage you to not compare death to sleeping. That can be further confusing for the children. That can be also anxiety inducing regarding sleep and nighttime. And also to avoid talking about the person who has died. This is not something that will be, preventing them from feeling the hurt from it. So we encourage you to actually talk about the person that was so important and meaningful. And so here are examples of questions that your children may ask you after the loss of someone important. So just to give you ideas of, how to feel prepared for yourself. Um, It's possible that they inquire about their feelings and ask if their sad feelings will ever go away, asking about if they're going to feel happy again, if they will forget the person who passed. They may ask if they can visit the gravestone, the cemetery, or their final resting place. They may ask you if it's going to be possible to see them again. They may ask questions about their own death and asking if they're going to die as well. They may ask questions about their living situation, if they have to move, change schools. They may have questions about who is going to take care of them from now on, if it was someone that was heavily involved in their daily lives. They may ask questions about the very nature of death. What is death? What happens once we pass? What happens after life here? Um, they may have questions regarding their own role in this situation, asking if it was their fault, if they had a role to play in this. They may ask about how the loved one passed. They may ask about their pain, and they may ask about the illness itself and if they will ever have cancer themselves or if they are likely to have it one day. So, what does grieving look like for children? Of course, every individual children is different, but some aspect to keep in mind, they can experience a range of feelings such as sadness, guilt, hopelessness, feelings of panic, confusion, powerlessness, unfocused anger, despair, and a loss of faith. Um, and even if children have the words to talk about their loss, and that will vary depending on their age and their development stage, there is a powerful flood of emotions and feelings that they're experiencing, and may be overwhelming. It may prevent them to be able to express how they're feeling. And they may long also for the person who died, wishing that they would come back, expressing that they wish they could see them again, expressing that they miss them and that they are feeling sad. When it comes to the loss of a parent, seeing the other parent feel sad and crying can be upsetting for a lot of young children. That doesn't say that you should, fully hide it from them, but it's also about just balancing, showing a healthy expression of griefs, and also, showing a solid enough front for your child who relies heavily on you. So now I just would like to introduce a few trauma responses and symptoms to look out for in your children. So these are things you may or may not notice with your kids. So for instance, constantly thinking about the traumatic event and experiencing intense distress as a result, experiencing angry outbursts, inability to concentrate, prolonged depression, difficulty relaxing, some physical reactions and symptoms, avoidance of social contact, activity, and hobbies that they previously enjoyed, some sleep disturbance such as nightmare, insomnia, academic, behavioral, and emotional, as well as mental health related concerns, eating disruptions or disorder, some regressive behavior, numbness, anxiety, and reactivity to stimuli and small stressors. So I would say that if you're observing five or more of these symptoms, this might be something that is worth addressing, yes, with your child, but also with your family doctor or with another type of professional, such as a psychologist, social worker. If you feel unsure about how to process this complex situation, feel free to reach out to us directly at Colorectal Cancer Canada, and our team will be glad to support you in navigating this situation. An overall review of today's module. Know that grief can be seen as all the residual love that has yet to be expressed after the loss of someone important. It's okay to share memories and to regularly talk about the person that passed with your children. Remind your children that they can come to you for questions, for reassurance, and that they are loved. We encourage you to avoid expressions that could make your children think that they're not allowed to show their emotions or that they now need to take on a lot of new responsibilities. Remember that grieving for children and for adolescents is not linear. That also goes for adults. But specifically in younger individuals, it's often characterized by periods of regressions. As young children, a parent's death is one of the most stressful events that they can experience. So show them some patience and grace in how they want to process this difficult experience. And also remember that you can adapt the grieving rituals to your child's capacity to engage. I will leave you with a few resources that you can go through and visit with your family member. Adding to that list, of course, the team members from Colorectal Cancer Canada. Feel free to email or phone us for any questions or for any needs of support. We remain by your side during the diagnosis, during treatment, and beyond. So thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a good day.